Boom.
There it is. We're live. We're here. We're going.
We're ready to rock and roll
That
this joint, ladies and gents. We're going to be talking about the cash flow quadrant. That's because I done messed up. I think I messed up. I don't know how this stuff got messed up, but it happened. I'm taking it. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
The Business Bros Podcast was created for you. Learn from the business professionals who come to share their stories. Find out what's working in business, on social media, what's hot and what's not, straight from the mouths of successful entrepreneurs out there doing the real work. And now, welcome to another episode of
Business Bros. All right. Look, today it's funny. I started class with the core values that I've been learning at Billie Jean's advertising stuff, right? And one of the core values, the very first one, don't make excuses, make it happen. And rule number 2 is everything is your fault. And yep, I'm gonna take the heat on this one. So we had it looked like we had
double booked.
It was weird because it wasn't double booked, it was single booked, but the dates on the calendar were backwards compared to the dates that we had on our production. So either way,
ultimately, as I'm looking at the calendar invite, it says, rescheduling from Friday the 23rd to Monday the 26th. So I don't know how or why that happened, because whatever, we messed up, man.
I messed up somewhere. I messed up. So everything is my fault, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. That's the only way I can learn and make things better. Ben, if you're listening, I'm sorry, man. I messed up and I didn't get you squared away. Shoot me a DM, and then we'll get you rebooked on a different time slot to make sure we get you the stuff that we need to, because it's not fair to you. It wasn't your fault. I messed up somewhere, and we just had to kind of continue moving forward. But James has a fire intro.
And same thing to Dr. Liz Bapasola, who was the other person that was scheduled to be on.
So, but I think she actually did need to reschedule because she disappeared from the calendar. So she actually did reschedule. So anyways,
okay. So
case in point, we messed up. It was we farted, brain farted, and that's it. We're moving past it. But James does have a fire intro for both of y'all. James does have a fire intro for both of y'all. So we had to come up with a different topic. So one of the near and dear authors that we've really liked. I think the first time I picked up one of his books, Robert Kiyosaki's books, was Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was about 19 years old. I was working at the bank at the time. Lifetime. I know, it's so long, almost 20 years ago. So I was working at Wells Fargo at the time. I was working in the cash vault. And it's a teller job, but I don't really deal with customers. We'd get those armored trucks to come in, deliver bags of money. We kind of sorted it. We sorted the dollars, the bills, the change, the checks.
That was fun.
Right? It was a cool job. But one day I was filling change orders, and I remember sitting there putting money in the envelope for the Padres, because the Padres were one of the customers for Wells Fargo. And I was filling these envelopes with money. And I remember looking at this, and then I asked, I was like, what does this money represent? Like, why are we filling this money for the Padres? Don't they get paid their salaries? And they said, yeah, but this is their dinner money. So when they go on a road trip, they get this envelope with money for them to go, have dinner, whatever they need. They're per diem, right? And I remember counting, because they were going on a 2 or 3 day road trip. And I was like, dude, they're getting more money in this 2 or 3 day road trip per diem money envelope on top of their normal salary that they get for playing baseball, right? I was like, they're getting more money than I make in a month in this little envelope. And I thought to myself, dude, I'm doing something wrong here, right? Like,
I'm on the wrong side of this transaction.
I'm way on the wrong side of this transaction. I'm just happy that I realized that at 19, right? At 19, I was like, dude, this is not what I want to do. And at that time, I remember talking to people who had been at the bank for, 20 years prior to from the day that I started. And they were telling me things like, hey, make sure you sign up for your 401k, you max out the investment, because, you don't want to have this regret later down the road. Once you're here for like 20, 30 years, it's a great job. And not that they're wrong or anything. This is definitely
not
great
wrong
jobs to have. That's a great strategy to have if you're going to be working for a long time. It didn't resonate with me. It wasn't something, I didn't see myself staying at Wells Fargo for the next 30 years of my life doing this particular thing. Just not for me. And don't get me wrong. The people there were amazing. The job was cool. Like I had fun at that job for sure. There was never a dull moment that was going on in that place. But it was not something that I wanted to do for that long, not for the paycheck that I was getting. And I know there are a lot of people out there that are kind of wondering the same thing. Maybe you've been at your job for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it is. Maybe you're at the point where you're starting to think about retirement, or you're starting to think about your exit strategy. Or maybe you're like me, you're just getting started. You graduated high school and you're just getting started in this work, W-2 environment. And at 19 years old, when I had that epiphany, I remember picking up Rich Dad Poor Dad and reading it. Right. And that was weird for me. So I want to, premise this. I was not a reader back then. I got through high school without reading a book, except for Of Mice and Men, because we read it out loud in class. Right. That's the only time I ever read a book. But I picked up this book and I started reading it. And it really changed the way I looked at money and the way I looked at the way we were receiving that money, the income that was coming in, and how we were paying bills.
All right, I'm going to ask you real quick. What's like the number one biggest takeaway from Rich Dad Poor Dad? Because I have an answer for you.
For me, it was the way money flows. Like the pictures that he shows in that book, where he shows the income and expense column, and then they have the assets and liabilities. I think it's two things: the way money flows, and that if I spend my life buying assets, money, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket, rather than buying liabilities, something that takes money out of your pocket, then over time I would be successful. Right. The thing he hints in that book is the cash flow quadrant. And we're going to kind of talk about the cash flow quadrant today. But the idea was pretty simple. It was like, okay, look, I'm going to, you're bringing it up right there, huh? All right. Bring it up to the screen. There we go. So Robert Kiyosaki, can you make your screen a little bit bigger?
Yeah, I'll zoom in here.
Zoom in. There we go. The income statements here, the poor income statement. And this is where I was at, right? I was at Wells Fargo coming in. I had a job. My money would come in the form of a paycheck. I would pay my bills and I'd have nothing left over. The poor, that was my income stream. This is how my income statement looked.
You get money, you pay it all out. Taxes, rent, food, transportation, clothes, whatever you want to spend. We were stupid kids at the time and buying all kinds of stupid crap that we didn't need, and just, we weren't putting any of it aside.
No, we weren't. And we didn't really know any better, right? Luckily, maybe I'm pretty sure I opened a 401k at Wells Fargo, because that's what I was told to do. So some of my paycheck, without me knowing, was going into the asset column and buying, whatever it was that my probably mutual funds and bonds and stuff from my 401k. Nothing very significant.
Nothing crazy.
All.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. But
it's probably, to be honest with you, we probably were closer to that middle class one, because we did have mortgages, we did have car loans, we did have
not when I first started. Not when I first started at Wells Fargo. That happened
not
a
when
little
you first,
bit
yeah, you're
afterwards,
right. You're right.
So afterwards, when we ended up learning a little bit more about how this game is played a little bit, we talked to a financial advisor that came over. My dad paid this lady $75 an hour, $150 that, by the way, we didn't really have because we grew up pretty broke. So it was significant that Dad invested this money, and she came in and basically gave us the best advice we possibly could. Because our idea was simple. We were 19, 20, 21, 20 years old or so, and our idea was, dude, we're gonna get an apartment and we're gonna rent out the rooms with a couple buddies and we're gonna live the life, right?
Yep.
And
Easy.
she came in and said, well, why rent an apartment when you can buy a house? And then
at the time, what was it? It was 2003. So this is before, that big crash. Real estate prices were still, halfway decent for San Diego. I remember that first house that we bought, it was like $275,000. And then 3 years later, when you sold it, it was like $450.
Yeah, exactly. So we were just in a good market, but we followed directions, and that's when we became more of a middle class. We started earning a little bit of money. The money that we would earn would go out and pay our liabilities. It'd pay for the mortgage. It'd pay for the car that we had. I think I had my car loan was just about done at the time. And then we had whatever expenses, and that was it. That was the way the cash flow started to work. And as we learned a little bit more, and James kind of decided to roll his truck, and we kind of got pushed into this idea of a business, right? Earning money a little bit differently. And so we started to try to build our income statement to look more like the rich, where the assets are playing our income. But it's been a journey. I don't think we're even still here 100% yet. I mean, it's still a work in progress. We're still looking a little bit like the middle class, but we are having more of our assets giving us more income than we've had in the past. Which brings us to the cash flow quadrant. I'm gonna take this one off the screen, Ham. If you can pull up the cash flow quadrant.
I got you.
You were already on it. So after Rich Dad Poor Dad, after you kind of understand the way assets and liabilities work, and we start to understand how we should start putting that money away, not really saving it, but investing it and putting it to work with us, we had a business, and we started to learn about buying assets and getting our way from being an employee to becoming more of a business owner. And the truth of the matter is, I mean, Kiyosaki's his principles was pretty basic and simple. He's like, look, build businesses and invest in real estate. The concept there stuck with me. I understood that. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Build businesses, invest in real estate. That's great. The problem was, even though I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad, even though I had read Cash Flow Quadrant, I don't think I really had an understanding on how to build a business, right? How to build something that we have today. The insurance company we have today is a true business. But it's not something that we knew right away. I got into other businesses as things went on. I started a tax practice, but as you know, in tax practice, that means I was doing tax returns. I was sitting with the client. I was marketing myself. I was out there, doing my continuing education. I was what we call self-employed. So I'm going to bring this up right here. So on the left side of the cash flow quadrant, we got employees and self-employed. And this is where we stayed for a very long time. An employee was when I was working at Wells Fargo or when I was working at H&R Block. I would go in, I'd clock in, I'd start at a certain time, I'd end at a certain time. I was exchanging my time for money. I worked for, I'll take you back the Wells Fargo days. I thought I was rolling in dough, and I think I was making like $8 an hour or $9 an hour back then. But to be fair, to fill up my Honda, it cost like $10, and I would complain about back that, then. Right? Yeah, back then. So, but that's exchanging time for days. Money. Oh, the good old days. So I was exchanging time for money. That's when James was working as a subcontractor for Cox Cable. He's doing the same thing, exchanging his time for money. When we started working on our businesses, we wanted to become a business owner, but what we were and what most business owners are is self-employed. They're still exchanging their time for money. The only difference between what they were doing as an employee and self-employed is they're the boss, right? When you're self-employed, you're the boss, but you're also the worker. You're also the accountant. You're also the marketer. You're also the face of the company. You're everything. When you go on vacation, your paycheck goes on vacation. That's what it's like being self-employed. General contractors, a lot of them are self-employed. Plumbers, a lot of them are self-employed. There's lawyers, even doctors with small practices, lawyers, accountants. A lot of them are self-employed. And it doesn't matter the size of the self-employed business. Some of these guys can make, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year in revenue or net and more, right? It doesn't matter. But they're still self-employed. They still have to show up every single day. They still have to do the work every single day. And if they go on vacation, their money goes on vacation. On the right side, we have business owners and we have investors. And notice for the business owner, this is when your employees are making your money for you. And the step from becoming a self-employed person to a business owner, that wasn't the easiest journey for us. I mean, I'll be 100% honest. It's hard to relinquish control at first. Yeah. Like you realize that what you're doing, you're the best at it, right? Or at least you tell yourself that you think you are. You're the only one who can get the job done the way the customer wants. You're the only one who can do this, who has the skill set to complete the task at hand, right? That's the mentality that a lot of self-employed individuals have. Contractors, for example, there's nobody who's going to check on the work, or, hit that nail the right way, or frame up that house the way you're supposed to. A plumber, only I can lay that pipe the way it's supposed to. Pun intended. Right? They're like, it's hard for you to hire somebody on because you know that they're not as experienced as you. They're not as skilled as you. So you bring them on and they become your helper. Right? You bring on somebody who can kind of be your partner, but you're still there doing all the work. You're still there clocking in every single day. James, I want you to kind of tell me a little bit about what was it like for the, 7 years or so of being self-employed compared to now being a business owner.
I mean, it definitely was night and day, almost kind of difference. When I was working and being the primary person in charge of the agency, I was up, 5, 6, 7 in the morning, and I was in bed 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and just basically working the whole time. I mean, I would stop for food and, working out. Like, I would get those other things done throughout the day, but it was literally just every spare moment that I had, I was just working. And even when I wasn't actively sitting in front of my computer working, I was thinking about work. I was thinking about what the next thing is, and, just constantly in it. I really didn't have a lot of free time. Social life. I mean, I had enough of a social life. I still did stuff, but, just there wasn't a lot of free time. There was just constantly in the business. And if I was to stop, my income would have stopped. Like, the business wasn't going to keep going without me there. So it was not just the fact that I had to like keep working. It was also the fact that if I stopped, everything stopped.
What changed? Like at what point? Because you could have kept doing it, right? And you could have continued to grow it at the rate we were growing it, but you kind of, started getting burnt out. You started getting stressed out. You started getting a little change.
I'll tell you what the big difference was when I took over the company like 100% and we didn't have our partners anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big like game changer. Because, when it came to having all these partners, they had expectations, of what I should be doing to, honestly, I was almost as much an employee as, anything else, because of these expectations. But once I took over the ownership of the company, like, I felt like, okay, well, I don't have to necessarily be the one doing all of this work anymore. There's somebody that I've been training for the past year and a half who, can take my place, who is really good at everything that I'm really good at and can take my place. And I think that's what a lot of self-employed people have trouble doing, is saying this person, maybe they're not as good as me at certain things, right? But that's okay. Like, being able to just relinquish that control and be okay with, whatever the other person does. To me, as far as I'm concerned, like, Angel being in charge, she's way better at it than me, because she's really good. She's just really, really good and patient and kind and, sweet, and like all these things that I felt like I just didn't have the patience for a lot of times. So, it's for me, it's like, nope, this person definitely is better than me. But I think that self-employed people often have that problem where they just can't trust anybody to run it. Or, I have let go of the expectation of perfection, right? Whether it was for myself or for anybody else. It's like, no, sometimes things go wrong. We do everything we can to stop things from going wrong, but sometimes mistakes happen. That's normal. And, our job after that is to figure out how to, fix it and make sure that it doesn't happen again, but then there's going to be something else that we didn't expect. And then we have to find a solution to that. And then something else that we didn't expect or foresee. And we find a solution to that. That's the job.
How did you make the change now? So, okay, you decided, business became yours 100%. You're running everything. What choices, what things did you have to put in place in order for you to go from self-employed to become a business owner?
What's funny is a lot of the systems were already in place. I just had to remove myself from being part of the system.
Hmm.
That was the big thing. The systems were already being built. The systems were already being put into place. The automations, the tracking, the submissions forms, like everything that I had been doing was to create a system that somebody else could run. That's always been my method, right? Even when we did PC Cruisers way back in 2004, 2005, like create the system so that other people could work it. We had employees back then.
Yeah, I remember because I would go to the office and play video games all day.
Yeah, we were still doing a lot of things within the business, like, you being the accountant and, me being whatever, the manager, and still going on jobs and, whenever the guys weren't available or whatever, staying behind and fixing the computers that were at the office. There were things that that we didn't or couldn't remove ourselves from, at that time. But it was always, even back then, the intent was always to build a system that somebody else can run. So that's really, like, for me, what I was going to say as far as like the takeaways from Kiyosaki's book, From Rich Dad, Poor Dad, number one was exactly what you showed, the way that money flows between poor, middle class, and the rich, and knowing that I want my assets to feed my income. That's what I want. I want my assets to feed my income. But the other thing that I took away from it was the difference between a business owner and someone who's self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I've always known that I wanted to be a business owner and not self-employed. So that was, to answer your question, it was removing myself from the system and allowing somebody else to take that spot. Now,
investor. All right. So business owner, the cool thing about the business owner status now, like, for example, when what James is talking about is he's got a lot of free time. We've talked about the sabbatical that you've been on for the last couple months, where you're just kind of like figuring out what you want to do with your time. And you started doing a little bit of fun stuff, and I wouldn't necessarily still call it as an investor when you're doing the options, because it's still you making the options. But what's your takeaway about becoming an investor? What does that look like?
I guess I'm going to disagree with you and say that the options trading, stocks trading, that is part of the investing. I mean, sure, I have to take some time to watch the market, play the market, place my trades, whatever, all that stuff. But it's still money working for me. So the thing about options, the way that I trade is options have a certain value and they lose value as time goes on. So I sell it while it's high, while it's valuable. And as time goes on, as long as it doesn't get past that point, I actually make money every day. Right? So that's cash flow to me. The other side of that, though, I mean, is using the money that we make, using the revenue that we make from our business to continue to invest. So it's a matter of staying, disciplined, and the same 10% rule that we apply to our personal finances, applying that to the business finances, and boom, that 10% goes aside. That's our investment money. And whether it's stocks, options, things that will accelerate the speed of our money, or later on down the line, when we buy real estate, like that's the ultimate cash flow investment, because once we get that piece of real estate, especially if we're able to pay cash for it, like that's it.
That's the
income.
And
that's the goal.
One of my favorite things to do is on the build businesses side. It is more on the investment side, because now we're to the point where I'm like, dude, I think what your concept is a great idea. Let me put some money and help you develop some systems, and let's build this thing. Right. And that's super cool for me, because that's the passion that I love to do. Right. That's where, to see somebody, to help somebody else succeed in a business. And yes, I'm helping them on the self-employed level, right? I know that they're the ones still doing the work. And I can help guide them into a direction where they can move their way out. But that beginning part, to me, that's the investment part. That's where, when we have those profits and we decide where it's going to go, sometimes it's, James is going to option trade with them. Sometimes it's like we're going to, right now, for example, we're really putting hands down, like the main focus of our show is to build a testimonial business around the podcast. That's another business that we're building on the side. That one is definitely more of a business build. But I'm investing in other companies as well. Investing in, time and money into a taco company within family, right? Helping other people grow their businesses. So to me, the investment is when you're putting money into something and it's going to grow, whether on like an ROI value, like the value of that asset will grow in the way that we're talking about our stock portfolio, or investing money in a company where that company is going to grow, and then I'll either reap the rewards of stock, I'll reap the rewards of dividends, I'll reap the rewards of cash flow, whatever it's going to be after that initial investment. So that's kind of the cool part, I think, that we are luckily, fortunately to be in our lives where we're like, okay, now we've created the B. Now it's time to start working on our I, right? Now it's time to start working on that investment portfolio. And that's, to me, dude, that's been the greatest transition. I mean, okay, granted, pick up that first book almost 20 years ago, and I thought I had it figured out after the first couple years, but we hit hiccups along the way. We've had businesses that become really successful and then really flop. We've had businesses that were like, okay, successful, but we learned something new after every single one. We've had some that, lasted 4, 5,
you
6
actually
years.
had some early success in building a true business when you had the cleaning company.
Yeah, that one was decent. And that's the thing is yeah, I learned how to do that. And yeah, I wasn't doing the cleaning as much or whatever, but it was still kind of something I built for somebody else that had no clue how to do something, right? And so
same type of thing, yeah, I got you.
Thing, right?
Like that's you do really well. Well, how do you say it? You turn your passion into profit.
I learned how to turn my passion into work, dude.
Other people's passion into profit.
Other people's passion.
Come on, man, say
work.
it right. Don't say it like I said it. We're like, man, you know how to take something that's fun and turn it into work. No. We turn your passion into profit. That's better.
We turn your passion into profit. That's what we can do. That's what we do. Turn your passion into profit. All right, let's cut this one out for today. So, ladies and gents, if you haven't, pick up Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I know it's over 20 years old, but the fundamentals in that book are still amazing. The other one is CashFlow Quadrant. That's his second book. You guys can check those things out. I mean, they're really cheap. You can get them on Audible if you want. You can get them in hardback. You can get them in paperback, get them used, download PDFs, all kinds of cool stuff. The point is, pick up the book, read it, and start to take a look at your life a little bit differently, your financial life a little bit differently. Understand how money is flowing in your own cash flow statement so that you can alter things, make some small changes to make a drastic change in your life. Just because you own a home doesn't mean you have an asset that's cash producing. Just because you have a business doesn't mean you're a business owner. You could still be self-employed, and understanding what each of them are, why you're in one category versus the other, will allow you to see the opportunities that are presented in front of you. It's not only about learning, it's about implementation. Learn something new every day and apply it, right? That's how it works. And that's how you're going to win. Ladies and gents, last little thing, if you are in business and you want to get more clients, then I suggest you try to somehow get your clients to talk about you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if you don't know how to do that, that's what we're here for. Go to businessbros.biz/testimonials and let us create video testimonials of your clients so that you can use them 24 hours a day. You can put them on your website. You can use them for Facebook ads, YouTube ads. You can send them out to those questionable prospects who may be thinking about working with you or not. When your customers talk about you 24 hours a day, they're making you just a little more popular. And that's what business is all about. It's a popularity contest. You don't got to be the best. You just got to be the one who people talk about every single day as you progress to being one of the best. So businessbros.biz/testimonials. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out, y'all. And we'll see you again next time.
Thank you for listening to the Business Bros Podcast. Are you looking to get more clients or to increase your income? Hernan, the business bro, can help you generate referrals through the power of podcasting. And James, the insurance bro with Pipeline Insurance, can help you effectively add insurance to your existing business. If you are ready to create wealth today and generational wealth for tomorrow, email businessbros@csfirst.com to schedule a free consultation or join the Business Bros Network, www.businessbros.biz.